Folks, I did the hotline for this Friday earlier in the day, and it's 10:57 p.m. here. I was about to upload the hotline with numerous topics in the world of sports that have happened in the last few days, but I have to start off this hotline with a bang. It actually fucking happened. Yes, it actually fucking happened. Despite the fact that Jerry Jones has made things very fucking complicated with this organization, and throughout the fucking week, Jerry Jones had several meetings with Jason Garrett. Monday, we all thought the doomsday for Jason Garrett was going to be on a Monday. It didn't happen. Do you honestly think that they were going to fire Jason Garrett on New Year's Eve and on New Year's Day? No! But we had to wait until Thursday night to get the fucking news. But Ed Warner from ESPN, and this is what he says in a tweet that just came out at 9:12 p.m. Well, Central Time. It was 10:12 here Eastern Standard Time, saying that Cowboys Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones have moved on slowly and with abundance of care and respect for Jason Garrett. That phase expected to conclude soon, with Garrett not part of organization. Next phase to involve candidate interviews that will begin quickly thereafter. Okay. This to me, like I said in the beginning of this hotline, this was fucking weird. Seriously. Why did this fucktard waste time on seeking out a new coach because he wants to let Garrett down gently? Why did you fucking waste Monday, Tuesday? Supposedly, they were supposed to have a meeting today, but that meeting never happened. We may never know what was going to happen um, with Jason Garrett. To me, there's really two theories that I have to put out there regarding why it took so fucking long to get fucking Jason Garrett out of Dallas. The first theory, I think they were going to keep him in the organization. Not as a head coach, but I could have seen a scenario where Jerry Jones was going to take all of this power out of the general manager position and give it to Jason Garrett, knowing the fact that whoever was going to run the Dallas Cowboys head coaching position, whoever was going to be the next coach was going to be a fucking scapegoat. That's theory number A. Theory number B, I think they waited this long knowing the fact that if they had fired Jason Garrett on a Monday, that the New York Giants were going to interview Jason Garrett for their head coaching position. I think that's the most likely theory that people are going to come out with. But, we don't know. We weren't in those rooms when they had those meetings. Now, Ed Warner also said this on Twitter about 23 minutes ago. One thing people should know regarding Cowboys' deliberate and confusing process, which that was a fucking confusing process. Jerry and Stephen Jones would not be operated in this manner if they had any indication they were risking head coaching candidates they desired most to other teams. Jerry Jones, he may think he has a method to his madness, and it remains to be seen if it will all pan out for this organization. And even if he wants to interview coaches who are currently with teams in the playoffs. Now, there was a rumor going around, and they actually want to interview the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens in Greg Roman. Um, that has been a name that has popped out in the past day or two, along with Matt Rule and Lincoln Riley. They also want to interview coaches in rival teams. And they may present better options for those candidates overall. Jason Garrett getting fired is what the Dallas Cowboys fan base wanted all along. I'll even fucking say it. I've been waiting years for fucking Jason Garrett to get fired. I kind of felt like there were seasons where Jason Garrett got lucky. You know, seasons where, you know, they won their division. Even a few years ago when Dak Prescott, first year as a coach, well, not as a coach, but fucking as a quarterback, you can tell y'all I'm fucking excited about this. So, you know, Dak Prescott becoming a quarterback for this organization when they had the bye week and they lost to the Green Bay Packers. Everybody fucking expected the Dallas Cowboys to be a fucking threat. Everybody expected the Dallas Cowboys to be out there to become a contending team. And then all of a sudden, they fucking struggled. And that's what the brand and the fan base wanted to see, was fucking Jason Garrett let go. Waiting to make a move like this, and I sound like a fucking broken record when I say it again, it's just fucking weird. And it could very well impact whoever the new coach is going to be in this organization, because you have to deal with this fucktard in Jerry Jones. When it comes to Jason Garrett, he's going to get more jobs. Of course he is. Do you honestly think he's not a front runner for the fucking New York Giants fucking head coaching position? He's a fucking front runner for that. Of course he's going to fucking get an interview with the Giants. No matter what. After they fired Pat Schumer on Monday. I mean, he's not the worst coach ever. I mean, yeah. He does screw up when to punt and when to go for it. And sure, he sometimes would kick a field goal at the 11-yard line while your team is down by 7 in the fourth quarter. But sometimes you need more than 9 years to pick up on that stuff. So that's really what I have to say about this. To all you people out there, enjoy the rest of the hotline that I have for Friday. I will be back later on in the weekend to talk more NFL news and to really break down the candidates for the Dallas Cowboys head coaching position. All right. I did not want to start off this hotline here. The first hotline of the new decade, and also the first hotline of 2020, talking about two deaths that happened on New Year's Day. And when you reflect on New Year's Eve just a few days ago, if you were out partying at an establishment, celebrating New Year's with your family, which I was doing, and then recovering after New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, you find out the news of the first passing in the world of sports this year. And there was a lot of talk about this on a lot of the ESPN shows this morning. And I want to start it off talking about David Stern. Because David Stern, man, was so important to the basketball world. And of course, it was announced a few weeks ago that he had brain surgery. His status was unclear at the time. Now, the story was that he collapsed at a restaurant in Manhattan. And then all of a sudden, on New Year's, you hear about his passing. And I'm going to make the argument that David Stern is the most important person of our lifetime in the NBA. Yeah, there was this Michael Jordan and Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson thing. But David Stern put it all together. He knew how to take the momentum from the star talent and capitalize it. That's what makes him so damn important to basketball fans and the basketball world in general. Look at some of the notable events that happened during his run as commissioner of the NBA. Relocation of 6 NBA franchises. The Clippers, the Sacramento Kings, the Grizzlies, now the Memphis Grizzlies, the Brooklyn Nets, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Seattle Supersonics. 7 new NBA teams. The Charlotte Hornets. Now, I know you people heard me say Charlotte Hornets just a short time ago, but also the Charlotte Hornets were the Charlotte Bobcats, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, the Grizzlies, whether it was the Vancouver Grizzlies or the Memphis Grizzlies, the Toronto Raptors, and the Charlotte Bobcats. Ratification of the NBA dress code. The NBA Finals trophy renamed the Larry O'Brien trophy. The NBA Finals MVP trophy renamed to the Bill Russell NBA Finals Most Valuable Player Award. And then, of course, there were 4 NBA lockouts. 1995, 1996, 98 through 2009. Of course, the season happened in February. I believe it was late January, early February, and 2011. And that doesn't include other things like vetoing the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers, which drastically changed multiple franchises. That doesn't include allegedly rigging the 1985 lottery so the New York Knicks could land Patrick Ewing. Just so many memorable moments that all happened because of David Stern. He was the one that really let us develop this league. And that's damn impressive. Rest in peace to David Stern. And then last night, we heard about Don Lawson passing away. And it was sad news to me. Um, Let me just say this on a personal front. You've seen from my past hotlines or videos here on YouTube, you see on the backside all the books that I have. Some of them are just, you know, novels, famous novels that I have. I have the Sword of Shannara series. I have a couple of Tom Clancy books, Lord of the Rings, Helter Skelter, and a lot of autobiographies. But there's one book that I have in my bookshelf, and I recommend it if you are a New York Yankees fan, called Dynasty by Peter Goldenbach. I also have a Goldenbach 2 book. It's an oral history book of the Dallas Cowboys. And when it comes to Yankees baseball, you can't tell the story of the New York Yankees, or baseball for that matter, without Mr. Perfect. Not Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, the wrestler. Mr. Perfect Don Lawson. Because to this day, he's the only pitcher to ever throw a perfect game in the World Series. And it's just one of two men to throw a no-hitter in the postseason. Who is the other name that did it? Roy Halladay. And the funny thing is that Don Lawson didn't know if he was even going to pitch in that game. In that book that I just talked about, it talked about his Game 2 performance. And he was just 5 outs away before being pulled for control issues. And he said this after the game, and I quote, "I don't give a damn if I ever pitch another game for the Yankees or stand till a game. I go out there and break my neck. For what? He had no business taking me out of there. That's the last time I'll get to bed early. I'm going to enjoy life again." A few days later, Yogi Berra was jumping into his arms after Lawson did not allow a single base runner all game. He faced 4 future Hall of Famers in that Dodgers lineup, the most ever faced in a perfect game to this day. 2 games later, the Yankees won the World Series in 7 games. And who was the MVP of that series? Don Lawson. It's fucking baseball, man. He's Mr. Perfect. There's actually an interview talking about that. You have Yogi. You got Lawson in there. You got Bob Costas. They're all talking about that day. And it's still one of the craziest things to ever happen in this universe. And it was David Cone throwing his perfect game, believe it or not, on Yogi Berra Day. Also the same day that Lawson threw out the ceremonial first pitch to him. David Cone. Read it in his autobiography, or listen to it if you have Audible. David Cone threw 88 pitches in that game. And think about it for a moment. What was Yogi Berra's number? Number 8. And it just tells you my fucking point. That baseball is fucking crazy. Rest in peace, Mr. Perfect. Alright, so this is the first hotline of 2020 here. We're going to get into some stuff today here on this hotline. We're going to get into more baseball talk, obviously. Domingo Germán suspended for 63 games. Also, I'm going to get into some hot stove talk. And then later on in the final segment, I'm going to give you my picks for Wild Card Weekend. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. I know I've been lacking on the wrestling side of things lately. Haven't really watched any wrestling. I've been watching the football games, the college football game the other night, the Orange Bowl. I've had family come over as we were in the dog days of this holiday season. Also, last night, I did watch the Rose Bowl. I did watch the Sugar Bowl, and I just concluded watching AEW. But this weekend, hopefully, I can get into the Wrestle Kingdom, the New Japan show. Put the Wrestling Observer Radio stuff on there. Hopefully, get back to normal when it comes to putting some of the audio content. Not to mention, some of my hotline content on here. So definitely subscribe to the channel and click on that notification button for when the newest episodes of my hotlines come out. Finally, we have a punishment for Domingo Germán. 81 games. Yes, 81 games. It's one of the biggest suspensions handed down for domestic violence in the history of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is already counting 18 of the 81 already served because of the games he sat out to end last season. So 2020, his suspension is going to be 63 games, and Jet Passion from ESPN talked about that Domingo Germán is going to miss the first 63 games of the 2020 season as part of his suspension for a domestic incident last year. And I already mentioned about the 18 games served, and it's one of the most significant suspensions for domestic violence. Okay. This is a very weird case here, because there were no criminal charges filed, and we don't know who witnessed this or what happened. The rumor is he slapped his girlfriend, which is obviously terrible. But we don't know the full story or even half of it. I gotta say it like this. The punishment, it's harsh because of the lack of information or charges. But also, I agree with it. You've known in the past, when I was on Strictly Sports, when I used to do breaking news stories, I always talked about the fact that there's no place for domestic violence in baseball or any other sport, or even in just life in general. And it sounds like something very serious happened. And this is the right way to take care of it. Hopefully, Domingo, he takes this suspension seriously, gets him straight back to the straight and narrow, and comes back a new man. If not, and I hope this doesn't happen, but you know that if he doesn't change, the Yankees are going to release him. Everybody deserves a second chance in life if they don't take it for granted. So get yourself right, Mingo. As for the Yankees, they'll be fine without Domingo. The earliest that he can return is on June 5th. Of course, right now, he was going to be the fifth starter behind Garrett Cole, Luis Severino, James Paxton, and Tanaka. Without him, the Yankees will likely turn to Jordan Montgomery. If not Monty, you got Mike King, you got David Garcia, you got Clark Schmidt, who's not on the 40-man roster. Those are options that you can put out there. And as of now, J-Hap, the guy's still on the team. But I don't see how that's the case by the time that we have pitchers and catchers report into spring training next month. Maybe the suspension leads them to keep J-Hap. But I really don't see it. I don't. I think he leaves before pitchers and catchers report. Anyways, I'm glad we finally got the suspension. And now the Yankees can move forward with a plan, instead of sitting around just waiting. So it is the second day of the new year, and we're already getting some crazy rumors when it comes to trades. Yes, I'm hearing some stuff about Mookie Betts going to the Dodgers, Francisco Lindor going to the Dodgers. But what about Nolan Arenado? Now, we're not even a year removed from Nolan Arenado signing that 8-year, $260 million extension with the Colorado Rockies. Once he signed that, everyone just assumed that he's going to finish out his career in Colorado, putting up unreal numbers, making these crazy plays from third base, and really never competing for a World Series ring. Flash forward to 10 months, and John Marashi, this is what he reported today. Nolan Arenado has roughly a 50-50 chance of being traded, with a half dozen teams haven't checked in, as I just reported on MLB Network. The Dodgers are not, and I do mean not, the most likely destination, as the Rockies prefer not to trade Arenado in the division. What is happening? You look at Arenado. He is going to be 29 in April, coming off another monster season where he hit 41 home runs, 118 ribbies, and had a triple slash of numbers. This dude's a fucking beast. And that's the guy the Rockies want to trade? It sucks to hear if you're a Rockies fan, because Arenado is beloved by that fan base. But if you're trying to start over and rebuild with some actual pitching prospects, then maybe this is the time to do it. From a realistic point of view, the Rockies are not going to contend with what they have with their current stat structure of the roster. The one thing that Colorado needs, they need pitching. And they need a lot of pitching. And here's a little bit of an example over here, guys. If the Atlanta Braves miss out on Josh Donaldson, and Josh Donaldson right now has multiple 4-year, $100 million deals being thrown at him. If they lose out on him, and let me just say, because I know the rumor was that Josh Donaldson, he's the favorite to go to the Texas Rangers. If Josh Donaldson goes to the Texas Rangers, I really think with the Atlanta Braves, with how they've been in the postseason these past 2 seasons, they could easily upgrade on third base and get Anato. You look at Atlanta. Atlanta's farm system is loaded with talent, and they could definitely unload the pieces necessary to get this done. Atlanta had always been a spot where people thought a Mookie Betts would go. And now you're hearing that Mookie Betts could be going to the Dodgers. But Anato, he fits the bill well. I mean, think about it for a moment. Imagine Acuna, Anato, Freddie Freeman. That is one fucking scary team in the fucking National League East. Everybody's all telling me, oh, Philadelphia, they're the best team right now because they got Joe Girardi. They got Bryce Harper. Excuse me. They got Zach Wheeler. They got a number 5 pitcher. Look at that National League East for a moment. It's going to be a competitive division. It really is. You got the Nationals coming out of a fucking World Series. You got the Braves who were fucking eliminated in the divisional series. Miami, who gives a flying fuck about Miami? Because Miami fucking sucks. They ain't fucking competing. With all respect to Derek Jeter, my favorite player. They will not fucking contend. And you got the New York Metropolitans. Oh yeah. Recently signing Betances. And I'm already hearing it from fucking Met fans already. Oh, we just took your guy Betances. Oh, we took him from the Yankees. I don't fucking care. I really don't. Who gives a flying fuck? But let me get back to Anato here. 50-50 odds are higher than I ever thought we'd hear about this trade. Especially less than a year after signing that mega extension. Look at this month. Look at it. You could see Nolan, Josh Donaldson, and Chris Bryant playing for different teams. I'm making a prediction right now, and you heard it here first. Those 3 guys, and I might even put Mookie Betts in this too, they're getting traded this month. I'm putting it out there right now. Even though that this podcast, this fucking hotline, comes out on January 3rd. I'm recording this on January 2nd. Those 4 guys will be in new teams by this month. Believe me. Because the free agency part of the offseason, it's pretty much done. Aside from a few smaller pieces. But what's going to be really the conclusion to this hot stove season? The trade market. Let the trade market games begin. That's all I'm saying. And finally, NFL wildcard weekend. I know all of you football mocks out there want me to talk about Jason Garrett's with the Dallas Cowboys still. I'm not even going to fucking talk about that, honestly. I couldn't give a fuck about that whole story, but you got important football this weekend. And I'm going to talk about the games that are going to happen this weekend. So I'm going to start it off with the Saturday games. You got the Buffalo Bills going up against the Houston Texans. it's tough to distinguish between these two teams. Both teams do a certain thing very well. Buffalo, they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And the Texans, they got one of the best quarterback wide receiver connections in Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. While Hopkins will go into the teeth of the Buffalo defense, likely drawing White on a play-by-play basis. The matchup in this game is going to be the Buffalo offense going up against the Houston defense. And if you look at it, both units, they've been much maligned throughout the season. The Bills' offense, at times, I will say it because I am a fucking AFC mock, has been ineffective, and they have been awful. Look at that game against the Jets, Week 17. And also the same with the Texans on defense. Because you look at the fucking Texans, they got drubbed by Drew Lock. And they got massacred by the Ravens. And while the Texans have had a handful of solid defensive performances, they've been a mess. Now, J.J. Watts, he's going to return, but coming off of an injury, it's unclear how much of an impact that he's going to have in this game. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills to win that game, 21-20. Now, the second game, when it comes to the AFC, it's the Tennessee Titans going up against the New England Patriots. This is going to be a close game. I really think this will be a close game. And despite the fact that Tom Brady, they have him, the Tennessee Titans right now are playing with fucking fire. Because of Derrick Henry, they have been the best team in football over the last 2 months. This dude is a fucking beast. He's rushed for more than 100 yards in 5 of his last 6 games. Look what he did against the fucking Texans last week. 211 yards. And he stole both the rushing title and a tie of rushing touchdowns in that week. Going up against a disguised Patriots defense. Now, when it comes to offense for the Patriots, you know that this fucking team has been fucking terrible on offense. You know why I keep going on these fucking hotlines, fucking people calling me out, saying, "Oh, you're a big fan." I fucking came out and fucking bashed these fucking loyal Patriot fans this week on social media. And despite the fact that Julian Edelman is having one of his best regular seasons, the guy has a fucking knee injury. Mind you, he has a shoulder injury. Tom Brady is not really been the GOAT anymore. He's an old Tom Brady. He also has fucking injuries. I think the guy has an injury to his elbow. The Russian offense has been fucking trash. Look at fucking Sony Michel. Sony Michel was a fucking bust this season. They have no traction in their Russian game whatsoever. Defensively, the Patriots have been good. They haven't been great in recent weeks. After one of the greatest starts to the season in the history of football, they have fucking freefalled. And the greatest example is fucking Stephon Gilmore. After being a fucking elite quarterback for 14 and a half weeks, look what happened. when he went up against John Brown and Devontae Parker over the last 2 weeks. He's fucking sucked. I'm not counting the Patriots out of this game. I'm not. But if you look at the advantages in this game, of course, it's going to rain here on Saturday night. I can even say that is an advantage for the Patriots because they've actually been a good team when they've played in bad weather. But I just really think you look at the variables here. I think the Titans can beat the Patriots 24-21 because of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. Look at fucking Ryan Tannehill. He's been fucking playing out of his mind. The guy should be a fucking candidate for fucking MVP this year. So, I'm going with the Titans. I mean, and you look at it too. The last time that the Patriots were in a wild card game, they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. So, we'll see what happens in that game. But right now, I'm saying it. The Patriots are going to lose to the Titans. And then the Sunday games. You got the Minnesota Vikings going up against the New Orleans Saints. I'm confident in this game. Because the Saints are going to fucking beat the Vikings. The Saints, they don't have that superior roster. They're at home. They're going to be looking for blood. You know the Vikings have struggled in the past in the postseason. Kirk Cousins cannot win in these fucking big games. Mind you, primetime fucking games, Monday Night Football, for example. The Saints are going to roll. And the Saints are going to roll into Green Bay. And I'll even fucking make a prediction on that. They're going to fucking beat the Packers next week. So you already have my fucking divisional round fucking playoff prediction right there. And while I think the Packers, they're frauds, the Saints, they have a likely trip to the NFC title game ahead of them. They're going to use the strengths of Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, to really become the anchor of that offense. The defense is going to get going. And let me just say about the Vikings. They're by no means untalented. But playoff miscues in the past are probably obstructing my vision for this team. Because the Vikings are very reliant on Dalvin Cook. And Cook has been knocked up with injuries in recent weeks. If he was 100% healthy, I would even still take the Saints in this game. So I'm going with the Saints, 30-20. Last but not least, the Seattle Seahawks against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, they were hot trash for the first 12 games of the season. But over the past month, this is one of the better teams in football. 4 consecutive wins to win the NFC East. Seattle is coming to Philly for the second time on the season. The first game, the Seahawks won. But the second matchup, it's going to be a different story. Carson Wentz has the equivalent of nothing as wide receivers. He has been resourceful with his cast of running backs and tight ends. And this defense has played better after they lost to the fucking Miami Dolphins. Think about it for a moment. When the Dolphins beat the Eagles, this is where this team fucking came out and they fucking got out of that fucking slump. Seattle has struggled in recent weeks, being discriminated by, decimated, I should say, not discriminated, but decimated by Ken Drake and the San Francisco 49ers. And Seattle's won 11 games, but they were awfully lucky in one-score games this year. And it remains to be seen if this team can win in a hostile environment. But Russell Wilson could straight up win games for the Seahawks. But the Seahawks have plenty of talent. They got Javanion Clowney, Bobby Wagner, you got Quandre Diggs. I'm still going with the Eagles in that game. 24-20. I'm out of here, guys. Fucking deuces and love. See y'all really soon.